Picture this. You're reading an ancient text written over 2,000 years ago. Suddenly, you encounter a description so precise, so scientifically accurate about a global catastrophe that modern researchers are only now beginning to understand its true meaning. The prophet Isaiah wrote something that should be impossible. In chapter 24, verse 1, he describes the earth being completely emptied, its surface utterly devastated, and its inhabitants scattered. But here's what's mind-blowing. The Hebrew words he uses aren't metaphorical, they're geological. The word balak means to completely empty out, like draining water from a container. Shamam means utter desolation, but specifically refers to a wasteland created by sudden, violent change. Isaiah wasn't writing poetry. He was describing something that actually happened to our planet. But Isaiah wasn't alone. Ancient texts from completely different cultures describe the exact same catastrophic event. The Hopi speak of the world being purified by fire from the sky. Hindu scriptures describe cosmic winters and burning mountains falling from heaven. Egyptian texts mention the sky falling and the earth turning upside down. What if I told you that modern science has finally discovered what these ancient witnesses were describing? What if the greatest catastrophe in human history has been hiding in plain sight, encoded in the very scriptures millions read every day? If you're ready to discover how ancient texts predicted one of science's most shocking recent discoveries, hit that subscribe button. Because what we're about to uncover will change everything you thought you knew about Earth's past. Let's start with the most intriguing clues hidden in Scripture. Job, chapter 9, verse 6, describes God who shakes the earth from its place and makes its pillars tremble. But the Hebrew word for shakes is ragaz, which doesn't mean gentle shaking. It means violent convulsions, the kind that would literally move the planet from its orbital position. Even more fascinating, Job chapter 38, verses 4 through 7 asks, "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? When the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy?" The phrase, "morning stars sang together," uses Hebrew terminology that ancient astronomers used to describe planetary alignments and cosmic events. But here's where it gets really interesting. The book of Revelation describes stars falling from heaven like figs shaken from a tree. For centuries, scholars assumed this was symbolic. But the Greek word aster that John uses doesn't just mean stars. It can mean any celestial object, including what we now call asteroids or comets. Consider this. The Younger Dryas period began exactly 12,800 years ago. It was a time when global temperatures plummeted overnight, massive extinctions occurred, and human civilization nearly vanished. For decades, scientists couldn't explain what caused this dramatic climate shift. Then, in 2007, researchers discovered something extraordinary, evidence of a massive impact event that occurred at exactly the right time to trigger the Younger Dryas cooling period. Not just one impact, but multiple impacts from a fragmented comet or asteroid that struck North America, Europe, and possibly other locations simultaneously. The evidence is overwhelming. A layer of platinum, only found in space rocks, appears in geological cores worldwide at the 12,800-year mark. Microscopic diamonds, created only by cosmic impacts, are found in this same layer. Burned biomass covering millions of square miles. Suddenly extinct megafauna across multiple continents. But here's the connection that will blow your mind. This cosmic catastrophe matches perfectly with the descriptions found in ancient texts that were supposedly written thousands of years later. The Younger Dryas impact theory explains something that has puzzled archaeologists for generations. Why did advanced ancient civilizations seem to appear suddenly, with sophisticated knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and engineering, as if they were rebuilding rather than developing for the first time? Consider Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. Built approximately 11,600 years ago, just after the Younger Dryas period ended. This massive temple complex required advanced planning, precise stone cutting, and coordinated labor from hundreds of people. But according to mainstream archaeology, humans at this time were supposed to be simple hunter-gatherers. The site's pillars are covered with carvings depicting a cosmic catastrophe, animals fleeing in terror, symbols that match astronomical events, and most intriguingly, what appears to be a comet with multiple fragments, exactly matching the scientific evidence for the Younger Dryas impact. But Göbekli Tepe isn't alone. Around the world, ancient sites built shortly after 12,800 years ago all share similar characteristics. They demonstrate advanced knowledge that seems to have appeared from nowhere. Knowledge that looks suspiciously like it was preserved from an earlier, more advanced civilization. The Great Sphinx of Egypt shows clear evidence of water erosion, suggesting it's far older than traditionally believed. The Osirian at Abydos is built with massive stone blocks that dwarf anything else in ancient Egypt. Puma Punku in Bolivia features precisely cut stone blocks that fit together with tolerances measured in fractions of millimeters. All of these sites share one crucial detail. They appear to be built by survivors who possessed advanced knowledge but lacked the industrial infrastructure of their predecessors. Now, let's return to Scripture. The book of Genesis describes a world before the flood that was technologically advanced. The Nephilim, described as mighty men of renown, possessed knowledge that surpassed ordinary humans. Then came a catastrophe so complete that it wiped out nearly everything. But here's what's fascinating. If you map the biblical timeline using the genealogies and historical markers, the Great Flood occurred approximately 4,400 years ago. That's not the same time period as the Younger Dryas event. This suggests something remarkable. Earth has experienced multiple catastrophic events, and ancient texts preserve memories of several different global disasters. The archaeological evidence for repeated catastrophes is mounting. Underwater archaeologist Dr. Robert Ballard, who discovered the Titanic, has found evidence of ancient settlements beneath the Black Sea, perfectly preserved by the unique water conditions. These settlements date to approximately 7,000 years ago and show clear evidence of sudden, catastrophic flooding. But the Black Sea flood isn't unique. Around the world, underwater archaeology is revealing submerged cities that were above sea level when they were built. The ruins off the coast of Japan at Yonaguni, the massive stone structures beneath Lake Michigan, the perfectly geometric formations found off the coast of Cuba at depths of over 2,000 feet. Each of these sites tells the same story. Advanced civilizations built at sea levels much lower than today, then suddenly submerged by rapid water level changes. The geological evidence supports this pattern. Ice core data shows repeated periods of rapid climate change throughout human history. Not gradual shifts over thousands of years, but dramatic transformations that occurred within decades or even years. Consider the mammoths found frozen in Siberia, with fresh vegetation still in their stumps. These animals were flash frozen so quickly that they didn't have time to finish chewing. This level of rapid climate change matches the biblical descriptions of sudden, worldwide catastrophes. If you're finding this as fascinating as I am, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what surprised you most so far, because we're about to explore how these discoveries are rewriting human history. The DNA evidence is equally compelling. Genetic studies show multiple population bottlenecks in human history, times when our species was reduced to very small numbers worldwide. These bottlenecks correspond exactly with the timing of the catastrophic events we've been discussing. But here's where it gets really interesting. Ancient texts from around the world don't just describe these catastrophes. They provide detailed instructions for how to survive them. The biblical account of Noah's Ark includes precise measurements and construction techniques. Hindu texts describe vehicles that could survive cosmic disasters. Sumerian tablets provide detailed knowledge of astronomy and planetary cycles. This isn't mythology. It's disaster preparedness passed down through generations of survivors. So what does all this mean for us today? If ancient texts accurately preserved memories of global catastrophes, and if science is confirming that these events actually occurred, we need to take seriously what they tell us about the future. The Book of Revelation describes cosmic events that match perfectly with what modern astronomy tells us about cyclical celestial phenomena. Binary star systems that could destabilize planetary orbits, rogue asteroids and comets on collision courses with Earth, solar events that could devastate our technological civilization. NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, established in 2016, exists specifically because cosmic impacts are not a matter of if, but when. The agency actively tracks near-Earth objects and develops strategies for deflecting potentially hazardous asteroids. But here's what's truly remarkable. Ancient texts don't just warn about these catastrophes, they provide hope. Every culture that preserved disaster memories also preserved knowledge about renewal, rebuilding, and restoration. They understood that catastrophes, while devastating, also create opportunities for new beginnings. The biblical pattern is clear. Judgment is followed by restoration. Destruction precedes renewal. Noah emerges from the ark to a cleansed world. The Israelites pass through the wilderness to reach the promised land. Jesus rises from death to offer new life. These aren't just spiritual metaphors. They're survival instructions encoded in religious language. They tell us that even the worst catastrophes can be survived with preparation, knowledge, and faith. Modern preppers and survivalists are essentially following ancient wisdom. They're preparing for possibilities that our ancestors knew were inevitable parts of Earth's cycles. But there's something even more profound here. If ancient texts accurately preserved scientific knowledge about cosmic catastrophes, what else might they contain that we haven't yet understood? What other impossible descriptions might actually be advanced scientific information encoded in religious language? The implications are staggering. We might be on the verge of rediscovering lost knowledge that could revolutionize our understanding of physics, astronomy, and consciousness itself. Here's the bottom line. Ancient texts aren't primitive mythology. They're sophisticated information preservation systems created by survivors of global catastrophes. They combine historical memory with practical survival knowledge and spiritual wisdom. Science is finally catching up with what our ancestors knew. Earth experiences cyclical catastrophes. Advanced civilizations have risen and fallen multiple times, and the knowledge needed to survive and rebuild has been carefully preserved in the texts we call Scripture. But here's the most important question. If these ancient witnesses were right about the past, what does that tell us about their warnings for the future? Are we living in another pre-catastrophe period? And if so, how should we prepare? I want to know what you think. Do these connections between ancient texts and modern science change how you view biblical prophecy? Are we missing crucial information by dismissing ancient texts as mere mythology? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this opened your eyes to new possibilities, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Next week, we're diving into the most controversial archaeological discovery of the 21st century. Evidence that human civilization is far older and far more advanced than we ever imagined. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. And if you're feeling called to dig deeper into these mysteries, I want to encourage you. The same wisdom that helped our ancestors survive the unthinkable is available to us today. Whether that's through faith, preparation, or simply staying curious about the amazing world we live in, the ancients left us more than warnings. They left us hope. And in a world full of uncertainty, that might be the most valuable treasure of all.